At a packed high school graduation held on a Marine Corps base, a reserved single father sat in the final row of the bleachers, hands unsteady as he filmed his twin daughters stepping onto the stage. He wore a plain, worn jacket, blending easily into the sea of proud relatives and uniformed personnel. But as a USMC captain assigned to event security scanned the crowd, his gaze froze on a glimpse of ink peeking from the man's wrist. The symbol was unmistakable. A classified unit mark tied to an operation that reshaped the Corps years earlier. The captain stopped cold, the color draining from his face as realization struck. The quiet man in the back wasn't just another parent. From which city in the world are you watching this video today? If stories of silent bravery and unseen sacrifice move you, consider subscribing. What the captain would recognize next would reveal a truth no one inside that gym could have imagined. The gymnasium carried the scent of fresh floor wax mixed with nervous excitement. Red, white, and blue banners draped from the rafters, their edges curling under the heat. In one corner, the marching band warmed up, brass instruments colliding into a chaotic echo that bounced off concrete walls. Families filled the bleachers shoulder to shoulder, sometimes 3 generations deep. Mothers fixed corsages. Fathers lifted phones, adjusting angles. Grandparents wiped away tears long before the ceremony began. Younger siblings fidgeted in stiff clothes, restless and bored. In the far back, partially hidden by a structural beam, sat a man who seemed intent on staying invisible. Caleb Rowe looked weathered in a way that spoke of distance traveled rather than years lived. His flight jacket was faded olive, the sort you'd find in surplus bins with no history attached. Jeans, heavy work boots, practical, unremarkable. His hair was clipped short, almost regulation but not quite. His hands shook faintly as he opened his camera app. Around him, families leaned together, laughing, snapping photos, straightening collars, and smoothing gowns. Caleb stayed apart. When someone brushed past his shoulder climbing the bleachers, he nodded politely but didn't speak. He didn't smile. He didn't make conversation. He waited. His eyes searched the rows of graduates seated near the stage, navy gowns pooling at their feet, tassels swaying as students whispered. He spotted them immediately, Lena and Brielle Rowe. Fraternal twins, both had inherited their mother's dark curls. Both sat near the center of the 3rd row. Lena adjusted her cap. Brielle leaned close, whispering something that made her sister laugh. Caleb released a slow breath, the controlled rise and fall of his chest betraying practiced discipline. His thumb hovered over the red record button. He didn't press it yet. A woman seated nearby leaned toward him, her floral perfume light and sweet. She wore a badge that read Guest of Honor Family. Her smile was kind. "Are those your daughters?" Caleb glanced over, surprised. "Yeah, the twins. They're beautiful. You must be incredibly proud." She paused, then gently asked, "Is their mother here?" The silence that followed lasted less than a second, but it shifted everything. She passed. "A few years ago." The woman's expression softened instantly. Her hand lifted toward his arm, then stopped. "I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to." "It's okay." Caleb raised his phone, ending the exchange. She turned away, guilt written across her face. He focused on framing the shot. On stage, the principal stepped to the microphone. A burst of feedback screeched before the room settled. "Welcome families, friends, faculty, and most importantly, our graduates. Today marks not just an ending, but a beginning." Applause thundered through the gym. Caleb lifted his phone higher, stretching for a clear angle. As he did, his sleeve slid up, exposing his left wrist. Dark ink, sharp lines, geometric. He pulled the sleeve down instantly, reflexive, and adjusted his grip. Near the side entrance, Captain Daniel Hargreaves entered with 2 junior Marines at his sides. His dress uniform carried authority that made civilians straighten unconsciously. His jaw was tight, eyes sharp. This was routine base security, nothing more. He moved methodically along the perimeter, scanning faces, noting exits, reading posture. Corporal Mason followed several steps behind, alert and silent. Hargreaves' gaze swept the back rows, older man veteran stance. Young mother, distracted, phone out. Single father, flight jacket, gripping his phone too tightly. He passed Caleb, then stopped. Something tugged at his awareness. Hargreaves turned slightly. Caleb had shifted the phone to his left hand, adjusting zoom. His sleeve rode up again. The captain caught the symbol, just a fragment. Black ink. Clean lines. Familiar in a way that sent a jolt through his chest. His hand drifted instinctively toward his sidearm before he stopped himself. He took a half step closer, careful not to draw attention. Caleb lowered the phone. The sleeve fell. Hargreaves froze. His breathing turned shallow, controlled. He told himself it was coincidence. It had been more than 10 years. Tattoos like that weren't unheard of, especially on a base, but the pattern, the placement, the way it wrapped the wrist like a brand. He keyed his radio. "Mason, get to my position." The corporal appeared moments later. "What's going on, sir?" Hargreaves didn't answer. He was watching Caleb, the stillness, the efficiency of movement, the awareness beneath the calm, circle around, get eyes on him. Mason complied without question. Hargreaves stayed put, memories clawing their way up from a place he'd buried. On stage, names were being called. Cheers erupted. Students crossed, shook hands, accepted diplomas. The room buzzed with energy. Caleb remained focused, phone steady. He didn't scan the exits. He didn't look toward the Marines. His entire world was the stage. Lena Marie Rowe. Caleb rose with the crowd. His face softened, years melting away. He lifted the phone higher. Lena crossed the stage, shy but resolute, accepted her diploma, smiled for the photographer, and exited. Applause followed her. Caleb smiled, truly smiled, for the first time. For a moment he was just a proud father. As he stretched to keep her in frame, his sleeve slid back completely. Hargreaves saw it all, the trident, the chevron, twin stars arranged in a configuration that officially didn't exist. His blood ran cold. That wasn't decoration. That was identification, a unit never documented. Operators never acknowledged, tied to a mission Hargreaves would never forget. Fallujah, November 2012. Firebase Redline. 37 Marines trapped in a collapsing compound. No air support. No reinforcements. Command had written them off. Ammunition dwindled. Wounded piled up. Hargreaves had been a lieutenant, young, terrified, holding a crumbling perimeter. He remembered the radio transmission. Extraction not feasible. Hold position. They were meant to die there. Then 4 figures emerged from the darkness. No call signs. No names, moving like ghosts. One carried a wounded Marine under fire from 3 angles. Another cleared rubble with ruthless precision. By sunrise, all 37 were out. The 4 men vanished. No debrief. No thanks. No records. Hargreaves had seen the tattoo that night, briefly, on a wrist during a reload. He had asked questions. Filed reports. Hit walls. The mission never existed until now. He keyed the radio again. "Mason, stand down. Do not approach." Mason hesitated, then stepped back. Hargreaves felt his heartbeat pounding in his throat. He was looking at a ghost on stage. The principal called the next name. Brielle Anroe. Caleb lowered his phone briefly, then raised it again. Brielle crossed with confidence, smiling wide. She accepted her diploma, waved into the crowd, and disappeared behind the curtain. Applause filled the room once more. Caleb recorded everything. His face was open now, eyes wet, smile unguarded. The twins hugged briefly off stage, visible through the curtains. He lowered the phone and wiped his eyes quickly, almost embarrassed. Captain Hargreaves didn't move. His world had just shifted. He was supposed to report it. The procedures were unambiguous. Unidentified military markings connected to black-level operations meant one thing: a possible breach. Yet his hand hovered, refusing to reach for the radio because beneath the layers of conditioning and command discipline, something older and heavier pulled at him. Obligation. At the far end of the auditorium, half hidden behind a video rig meant for the school's official recording, a man in a charcoal blazer observed through a long-range lens. He didn't belong to the staff. He wasn't family. A badge clipped neatly to his jacket read Public Affairs Coordinator, but no one had bothered to verify it. He fine-tuned the focus, locking onto Marcus. Then he adjusted slightly, capturing Colonel Hale's rigid posture. He lowered the camera, pulled out his phone, and typed a short message. Visual confirmation. Subject verified. He's present. The man's name was Calder. He slipped the phone away and headed for a side door, his pace relaxed, unremarkable. Hale noticed him go. Years of ambushes and narrow escapes ignited a silent alarm in his chest. He turned back just in time to see Marcus moving down the bleachers toward the exit, head lowered, shoulders drawn in. The walk of someone practiced at fading into the background. Hale's radio crackled. "Colonel, unidentified transport at the east perimeter requesting your immediate attention." He didn't answer. His eyes tracked Marcus as he vanished into the crowd. Outside, the courtyard was bedlam. Parents and relatives flooded the lawn, arms full of flowers, balloons bobbing in the sunlight, tears flowing freely. The smell of fresh-cut grass mixed with sunscreen and heat. Marcus lingered near the outer edge, letting Leela and Brooke celebrate with their friends. Hands in his jacket pockets, he watched quietly. A few parents glanced his way, curious, but no one approached. He had mastered invisibility. Hale followed from afar, never losing sight of him. His chest felt tight, his thoughts split between protocol and something he refused to name. Marcus eventually stepped forward. Leela spotted him and sprinted across the grass, colliding into his arms. Brooke followed, and the three of them stood locked together. Marcus bent his head, whispering something that made Leela laugh while Brooke groaned dramatically. For a heartbeat, Hale saw nothing but a father. Then the jacket shifted. Sunlight flashed across ink at Marcus's wrist. Hale pulled out his phone and accessed a restricted military archive. His fingers hovered, then typed Marcus Cole, loading. A single result populated the screen. Hale's blood drained from his face. Marcus Cole. Status: deceased. Date of death: October 4th, 2012. Hale looked up sharply. Marcus and his daughters were heading toward the parking lot now, Leela clinging to his arm. Hale stared from the screen to the living man before him. The man he was watching was officially dead. Marcus unlocked his truck, a battered Tacoma with sun-faded paint and a bumper sticker that read, "Proud family of a West Bay graduate." Leela and Brooke laughed as they climbed in, voices light and carefree. Marcus opened the passenger door, movements automatic, then stopped. His eyes flicked to the rearview mirror, an old habit. In the reflection, near the curb and partially masked by parked cars, stood Calder watching. Marcus's jaw tightened. His fingers slid to his wrist. He tugged his sleeve down, hiding the tattoo. "Dad, you good?" Leela asked. He forced a smile. "Yeah, just proud." He got behind the wheel. "Let's get out of here. Dinner's on me." Brooke frowned. "You keep looking back, just being cautious. You're always cautious." Marcus started the engine and eased into traffic without glancing behind him again. But in the mirror, he saw Calder lift his phone. Marcus's grip tightened on the steering wheel. His daughters chatted excitedly about parties and summer plans, but his attention drifted somewhere colder. Somewhere he had sworn never to return. Colonel Hale sat alone in his office back on base. The air conditioning was dead, the room stifling. He stared at the monitor. Marcus Cole. Deceased. He ran another search. Joint Task Force Kandahar 2011. Unrecorded extraction. Nothing. Another attempt. Special Operations Archive. Forward Operating Base Ember. Still nothing. Every trace was gone. Scrubbed clean. This wasn't classification. This was erasure. His phone rang. "Lieutenant Vega." "Sir, we've got a hit. Someone just initiated a deep background scan on a civilian, Marcus Cole. Query originated outside our network." Hale's stomach dropped. "Source: unknown, rerouted multiple times. Whoever it is doesn't want fingerprints." "When?" "Less than half an hour ago." Hale stood so fast his chair slammed into the wall. "Get me his address. Now." If this story reminded you of someone who gave everything without ever asking to be seen, share it with someone who needs that reminder. And if you want more stories about the unseen protectors among us, subscribe and stay close, because what comes next changes everything. The diner was cramped and tired, the kind of place frozen in time. The booths were vinyl, patched with duct tape, edges peeling. A broken jukebox gathered dust in the corner. Grease and coffee saturated the air, layered over decades of use. Flickering fluorescent lights washed the room in a dull yellow hue. The checkered tile floor bore the scars of countless footsteps. Marcus sat across from Leela and Brooke in a back booth, watching them demolish burgers with teenage enthusiasm. They talked over one another, laughing about moments from the ceremony, voices bright and unfiltered. Marcus nudged his fries around without eating. His phone lay face down beside his plate. He'd checked it 4 times already. Nothing. Still, the feeling wouldn't leave. Brooke noticed first. She always did. "You're acting strange." "I'm fine." His voice was too even. "You've checked your phone 1,000,000 times." Leela wiped her hands. "What are you waiting for?" "Just making sure I got your graduation videos." He smiled, but it didn't quite land. Brooke leaned back, arms crossed, studying him. "You're lying." Marcus set his fork down. "I'm not. I just want the footage to be perfect." Leela grinned. "You cried, didn't you?" "I did not." "You absolutely did," Brooke said. "We saw you." Marcus chuckled softly. "Maybe a little. You only graduate once." "Dad, you're such a marshmallow," Leela teased. Silence settled, warm and familiar. The diner buzzed softly around them. A waitress poured coffee nearby. Someone laughed in the corner. The bell over the door chimed. Marcus glanced up automatically. An elderly man in a cap, no threat. He turned back. Leela's smile faded. "Dad, do you ever think about Mom at moments like this?" His hand tightened on the edge of the table. "Every day." "Do you think she'd be proud?" "She already was," he said quietly. "Every single day." Brooke folded her napkin again and again. "Do you think she'd be proud of you too?" Marcus froze. "What do you mean?" Brooke didn't look up. "You never talk about who you were before us, before Mom got sick." It felt like there was an entire chapter of your life we knew nothing about. Like a door that was always locked. There was nothing to grab onto, nothing to understand. Daniel's voice had softened, cautious now. "But you were in the service, right?" Lena leaned in, resting her forearms on the table. "We've seen the trunk in your closet, the uniform, the ribbons." Daniel's jaw set hard. "That was another lifetime. We just want to know who you were." Mira studied his face, searching for cracks he refused to show. "We want to know our father, all of him, not just the version you let us see." "I am exactly what you see. Your dad. That's enough." His voice sharpened, defensive, a barrier snapping into place, but it's not enough. Lena's tone was steady now. "You lived a whole life before us. You did things that mattered, and you never talk about any of it. It feels like you're hiding." "I'm not hiding." Daniel's palms pressed flat against the table, his knuckles pale. "I'm shielding you." "From what?" Mira's voice lifted, drawing a brief glance from a couple nearby. "What could be so terrible that you can't even say it out loud?" Daniel looked at them both, his daughters, their expressions open, wounded, sincere. He wanted to tell them everything, to let the truth spill, but he knew once it started, there would be no stopping it. "Listen, the only thing that matters is who I am right now. And right now, I'm sitting with my 2 brilliant daughters who just finished high school. That's all I need. That's all I want to be." Lena nodded slowly, but the question stayed in her eyes. Mira dropped her gaze to her plate, shoulders tight. The moment moved on, but it left a mark behind. A hairline fracture where there hadn't been one before. Daniel's phone vibrated suddenly against the tabletop. He turned it face down. Unknown number, just digits. He stared at it for a second too long, thumb hovering, then he muted it and slid it away. Lena noticed instantly. "Who was that?" "No one." Daniel answered too quickly. "Probably spam. You never ignore calls." Mira was watching again, sharper now. "It's nothing." He forced a smile, but it didn't hold. "You want dessert? They've got that chocolate cake you like." They dropped it, but the tension stayed, lingering between them like smoke. The talk drifted to safer ground. Summer plans, college paperwork, but the warmth was gone, replaced by something brittle. When they left the diner, the sun was sinking low, streaking the sky with orange and violet. Daniel drove in silence, the radio murmuring softly. Lena and Mira whispered in the back seat, too quiet to catch. He watched them in the mirror, faces lit by their screens. They looked so much like their mother. The same dark curls, the same sharp awareness in their eyes. His grip tightened on the wheel. That night, Daniel was alone. The house was small, a rented place at the edge of town, thin walls, a kitchen faucet that never quite stopped dripping. The twins were at a graduation party, and the quiet pressed in on him. He sat on the couch, staring toward the closet. The trunk. It sat hidden behind coats and old boxes. A dented green footlocker with a combination lock, standard issue. The paint was chipped, metal showing through. He hadn't opened it in years. The numbers were etched into his mind. 9, 21, 46. He stood, dragged it out, surprised by its weight. Familiar. He knelt in front of it, fingers hovering over the dial, trembling just slightly. Inside were memories he had buried, photographs, letters, tags that weren't his. A folded flag, the ink on his wrist seemed to burn against his skin. Then came the knock. Daniel stiffened instantly. Every muscle locked. His hand moved without thought toward his waistband. Reflex, training from another life. There was nothing there. He hadn't carried in years. He moved carefully to the door, steps silent, breathing slow and controlled. He leaned into the peephole. Lieutenant Colonel Adrian Cole stood outside. Civilian clothes, jeans, a plain dark shirt. His hands were visible, relaxed, but tension sat heavy in his shoulders. Daniel's stomach dropped. How had he been found? What did Cole know? He didn't open the door. Cole spoke calmly through it. Mr. Hale. My name is Adrian Cole. U.S. Marine Corps. I just want to talk. Silence. Daniel stood frozen, fingers resting on the deadbolt. I was at the graduation today. I saw your tattoo. Daniel shut his eyes. The fear settled in. I know who you are, or who you were. Cole's voice didn't waver, but emotion threaded beneath it. Wait. Another pause. The room felt airless. Daniel's heart hammered, but his breathing stayed steady. Years of conditioning. I'm not here to expose you. I'm here to say thank you.